mistake that people end up making is getting your wrist position out.
You always fry those things. So
But they're not thinking about 10, 15 years down the line.
I have 3 things that are just wrecking you in terms of what you're doing in the gym. Some things I've noticed since I started adding weight, really trying to transform my physique and build real muscle. These things have been a challenge, and they're things that people commonly mess up when they're at the gym. So we're gonna talk about those, and I'm actually gonna bring you into my gym with me, and I'm gonna show you my trainer that I hired to help me with this form critiquing and avoiding these mistakes, and then we're going to get into some of the science and information about it. All right, so we're gonna actually go into the first mistake that people end up making in the gym. A lot of guys will make this. They're working on upper body, a lot of the bench press, the movements of pressing.
You know, we see a lot of guys in the gym trying to get those instant gains on their arms, their shoulders, their chest. They're out here benching, pressing, whatever, because that's what they saw Arnold do.
you're on your own.
What they're not thinking about is, I want to be able to use my shoulders, press, bench, whatever, 10, 15 years down the line. And a lot of that starts with putting our shoulders in a better position, posture and position. We want to have those shoulders back and down. We want to keep those elbows tucked in. That way, we're going to keep those shoulders safe and healthy, and so we can continue to work out, continue to make gains, not just tomorrow, but next week, next year. And that's where progress actually happens.
So we're doing 60-pound dumbbells. I'm following the form that Andy taught me, which is basically to keep my elbows a little bit more tight.
Kind of a tighter grip. It's not quite neutral grip, and it's
Okay.
definitely not at 90 degrees. It's just, you know, good 45-degree angle.
So people in the gym would make a mistake and come out like this, right?
Yep,
That's what you're
exactly.
talking about. And then they bring it up like this and recruit a lot of their shoulders, and I can lift a lot more weight there. But you have me coming down like this, and then because I'm coming down like this, I'm pushing a lot more from my chest. But because it's like that, I'm protecting my shoulders.
Exactly.
Perfect. Yeah, so like, this is what you're saying. Like when I was benching, when I came to you, I was going like this, kind of right over the nipples, but I was still pretty high up. I get a ton of power, but then what would happen is everything through my traps and my neck would just be locked up after I did that bench. And I noticed I was getting shoulder pains from my shoulders. And so by lowering it down here and coming down here and kind of benching over the mid of my torso, maybe a little bit above the navel, but below the nipples, I was finding that I can get not as much power, but I can get like a lot more, I just don't feel it as much in the shoulders. And I feel like it's protecting them from what you've taught me.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, power will come with time. We'll get there. It's hard. It's harder. It's more difficult. But, you know, the good things in life are worth working hard for. Let's hit 10s there. I have coached at a whole bunch of different levels. College athlete, private side, went into the Marine Corps, worked with platoons there on physical fitness.
As we just discussed, the first mistake, a lot of people are up here pushing when they're on the barbell, on the bench, whatever. What we're trying to kind of focus on is getting these shoulders back down more into this natural position down here where we're actually going to generate the force more through this part of the muscle versus up in here where it's kind of putting a lot more stress on the shoulder itself. This has longevity. This is really what this whole game is about. So I'm gonna jump on the bench real quick and show you guys exactly what we're doing here.
The chain smokers in this on BBM.
So this would be the mistake up here. Going way up here, pushing from here. This would be more where you want your elbows down here, pushing down here.
That way, we're going to keep those shoulders safe and healthy, and so we can continue to work out, continue to make gains, not just tomorrow, but next week, next year.
All right, so we just went over the actual shoulder position, protecting the shoulders. The second problem that is very common for upper body lifting and training is getting your wrist position out of position. So I actually kind of fixed this a little bit with these actual gloves. They give my wrist a lot more foundation and solidity to like what I'm actually working on. But the idea is when you lift, I'm gonna show you here. When we actually come in here and we do a lift, what happens a lot of times is you see people and they let their wrist kind of curl back. And what that does is it puts the weight on the outer stress of the muscle. And that's not where you want it. You want your wrist straight up like this, so the actual mechanics and the force of the weight itself goes straight through the center of your arm and down through like this. So the idea here is to go in this position to lift versus being out bent over or bent too far forward where you're off center. And a lot of people, what it is their wrists are bent back. And then when they lift, they're putting a lot more of that weight and that strain on the outer side of their arm, where again, they can cause irritation, they can cause shoulder problems. It just doesn't work well with the mechanics. So that's what we want to focus on here in this lift. We're gonna do some bench dumbbells, and we're gonna focus really just on dialing in that wrist position. We're gonna start with breakfast. Today is lift day, so I'm actually gonna be doing a little bit more fat than I normally do. Then I'm gonna add in some honey. I've been eating carbs now for about 3.5 months, and I've noticed that my testosterone goes up. Definitely on lift days, I find that it's just a nice little addition to add some calories. It gives me some insulin stimulation and just kind of allows me to mix things up a bit.
I specialize in human optimization of movement.
Okay. What does that mean?
So it means that I look at the biomechanics of how the body functions. Try to help people realize what joints and muscles are supposed to do within the body, and help you move better.
And when you see me in my training protocol, what are you typically working on with me?
With you, we're working on shoulders and pecs, man. You always fry those things. So yeah, we're usually giving you, it's called type 2 afferents. So giving the body the ability to help a joint move with more capacity.
Andy's working on our plan today.
Yeah, just writing it down, writing a couple of notes. Always good to go in with a plan. It's gonna fall apart as soon as we get there, but if you have a plan, you can improvise, adapt, and overcome.
All right, so the last mistake that is often made is contact position on the actual bench, and Andy's gonna show us kind of what we mean when we're talking about this. So Andy, take it away. That's what we're talking about.
All right, so we always want to think about 5 points of contact when you're on a bench. It's gonna be the back of your head, your shoulders, your hips, and then your 2 feet. Adds up to 5. Big mistake that we see from a lot of people is that extensive arch, throwing themselves up off the bench to try and press that bar down versus staying locked in that position and actually using proper form to punch that bar away from them. Just make sure every time you get on the bench, make sure you have those 5 points of contact, make sure you maintain those 5 points of contact throughout the entire movement. So, starting off, get those feet, set them down, a good strong position. We don't want to be up on our toes, we certainly don't want to be kicking those feet around. We're doing the old school feet on the bench. Plant them on the ground, keep them there. After that, hips right down on the bench, shoulders, head. Our shoulders, we want to make sure that we're retracting and depressing, back and down, okay? This is going to set us in that good position that when we bring our arms down, we're keeping those elbows nice and tight, creating a lot of tension so we can punch that bar out. If we have our shoulders up, those elbows are going to flare out. That's where we get a lot of those shoulder issues. If your head is all over the place doing weird things, you're going to get yourself a pain in the neck.
You heard it from Coach Andy, so basically make sure you got those 5 points of contact. The feet, the hips, shoulder blades, and the head.
Back to the head.
All those points. And then you'll be in good shape. Again, these 3 things that are messing with your gains, messing with your performance. A lot of people are up here pushing when they're on the barbell, on the bench. It's getting your wrist position out of position. Contact position on the actual bench.
5 points of contact when you're on a bench. It's gonna be the back of your head, shoulders, your hips, and then your 2 feet.
Thank you for watching the video. If you made it this far, hit that like button, subscribe. I put out videos about this type of content. I also talk a lot about diet and optimization there. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button, leave me a comment, and let me know what you think. So we got a lot of deer meat to work with here this morning. I'm gonna be breaking up a lot of this meat that I had. This was from a hunt that I did at Rome Ranch. What an animal, what a magnificent experience. What a wonderful experience. And I'm so grateful that I can eat this meat. This meat is a little tough, I'm not gonna lie. It's not the most tender. It's definitely gonna have a bit more of a chewing factor, if you will, to the actual food. But I'm enjoying it, and I'm really feeling like it's a great addition to my routine. And obviously, because of the animal, I'm so grateful for it.